Welcome to Diary of a Deadbeat Dad. Hey, thanks for joining us today. We've seen a lot of success pretty quick. Last week we released a reel just talking a little bit about the show. Got some fantastic feedback, and during this segment, we're actually going to give you some feedback to tell you a little bit more. But before we jump into that, I want to introduce my guests. We spent this weekend together, kind of hanging out, getting dinner, talking about some of these what we found to be pretty heavy subjects, and interestingly, at the same time in our lives, we're sort of transitioning through some of these father things, I'll go ahead and let them introduce themselves, starting with my homeboy Vince on the end.
How y'all doing? I'm Vince Gilreath. I'm owner of Rise Sports Performance here in the DMV. I'm also an agent advisor for JCK Sports.
T-Rex on the microphone, my dude from way back when. We actually served some time in the Navy together, got in a lot of trouble together.
Yes, indeed.
Climbed out of those trenches, retired. Tell us who you are, what you got going on, brother.
How y'all doing? My name is Terrell Babers. I'm from Shreveport, Louisiana. Like OV said, we go way back. I spent about 20 years in the Navy, retired. Started my own tree business, big straw hauling and tree service down in Atlanta, Georgia. I also am an instructor at one of the high schools in Atlanta, a ROTC instructor. I also run a business where I have kids come out and ride horses. I have a farm out in Atlanta, so if you're ever in the Atlanta area, look me up.
My brother from another mother.
Yes, indeed.
What's happening, baby?
You got it.
Fonzo down in Jacksonville. Go ahead and introduce yourself, my brother.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for inviting me to sit on the couch with you today. But I am Alfonso McClendon. I'm out of Jacksonville, Florida. Got involved in activism when I saw a need in the community. We complain a lot about what's going on in the community, but we don't get our hands dirty. And so, success to me became evident, not just because of what I can get in, but how can I go back and help our community?
So this week we've been talking a lot around the subject, did he leave or was he pushed? Right? And some of the feedback that we've been getting is like, what the hell are you talking about? Are you, there's no reason why a man should leave his child. There's no reason why a man should leave his household. If he loves his children, he should endure and stand fast and stay through anything to be around his kids. And to some aspect, I believe that to be true. And I believe that should be a goal of our community. And I believe that should be the goal of any couple who conceive a child. But I think we will be mistaken if we don't really talk about what really transpires when you conceive that child, and then some of the things that are impossible to stand through, especially if you're dealing with certain conditions in your life. Being a father today, raising my kids and having adult kids and understanding now the journey of raising a kid and coupling that with the challenges of life. A lot of those things are factors that we never discuss. We just like Superman, we throw it on, and no matter what labels are thrown on us, we accept those labels and we try to get better regardless of going back, trying to treat some of those circumstances that we've been dealing with. So Vince, you and I was talking the other day about, fatherhood today, like looking at fatherhood today, raising our kids, being at an age that we can remember our fathers being at and having to make certain decisions with certain pressures now and, having skin in the game. I thought you made some interesting points.
My parents got divorced when I was a sophomore in college.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up, fortunately, in a two-parent household for a certain amount of time. My dad was in corporate America. Corporate America took them from Texas to Cali. While in Cali, some things transpired between my parents, which had nothing to do with me and my brother. I didn't really give my dad a chance to give me his side of the story. In doing that, that alienated our relationship, but I didn't know any better. Now I get it. I'm a happily married man. I have a beautiful wife, a great daughter. I have a baby. My baby boy is on the way, but I'm also a divorced dad.
Mm-hmm.
So, like you said, the subject is, did he leave or was he forced out?
Mm-hmm. You sound like some Brian McKnight shit, but go ahead.
there was a certain point in that, and I'm gonna call it a transaction where I wasn't given a choice.
Yeah.
When I was told that I wanted a divorce, first thing I did was, I'm going to save my marriage. So at that point in time, I just made a conscientious decision to say, okay, you know what? If this isn't what you want, that has nothing to do with my daughters. So I made an effort, and a concerted effort, to let my daughters know that no matter what the situation is, I'm always daddy.
So what did bonding look like between you and your father? And have you done, I mean, did you find any time during those times to go back and rebond with your father? Mm-hmm. Or was that an automatic thing?
No, it wasn't automatic at all. Like, me and my pops, our family name for him is OG. So me and OG didn't talk for a good somewhere 4 to 5 years. And
so this is your dad, OG?
This is my dad.
Your dad is OG.
My dad is OG.
And this is the family name for OG, or where you get that name from?
This is the family name. We call him OG.
Why?
Because at this point in time, when he got that name and we established that relationship again, we had been through so much that it just kind of became full circle. And so...
Like what, though?
So in a nutshell, it was kind of like I was learning from him from a distance. You know what I mean? It wasn't his. We didn't really have any direct conversation, but when we did talk, everything he told me made fucking sense. Mm-hmm. It did, because he never. My dad never. With the whole divorce between my parents, my dad never for a second said anything negative about my mom. Mm-hmm. Vice versa. My mom never said anything negative about my dad. And so I had to come to the realization that their situation had nothing to do with me and my brother.
So parents divorcing, and we tend to look at our parents and make them ours, right? Like mm-hmm. their lives started the moment we were born. Mm-hmm. And we get to put input on all discussions, and I know it's very emotional, but someone at an immature emotional state, we have to be very careful with them, because they'll make an 8-year decision not to ever speak to their father again, mm-hmm. and not even know how to establish a relationship. Mm-hmm. So now they are here translating the 20, 30-year relationship because they hear that their mom was hurt in this situation and don't know the full situation. Mm-hmm. And I think it's the parent's responsibility to come back and make sure the child understands how now they're moving through life, because you miss years with your father, thinking that he was a deadbeat dad, mm-hmm. and he was just in a bad relationship. Mm-hmm. So,
but that goes to the question. A lot of times we stay in marriages that's bad, but we want to be there for the children, and we live miserable lives. And then we make a conscious decision to leave. Sometimes the kids are put in a place that they have to pick sides. But one thing you said, your parents should never talk bad about each other. But it's too many times in households that mother or that father want to have that one up on that kid, so they down in the other one. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I don't have to be married to your mom to be a good dad. That's totally separate. Facts. I want to live in a happy life, do things that I want to do, but it just can't be with your mom. But that has nothing to do with the relationship. But too many times in Black households, and most of the time it be the mama saying your daddy ain't about shit. He done left, he done did this. No, he just couldn't live with you.
Yeah.
Had nothing to do with the kid.
Yeah.
So
What I'm asking is, like, you're going through a divorce now. And what is the advantage in making the other person bad in a situation where you need both people to have a strong vote in what's going to be the most critical thing you do for 18 years?
2 words. Child support.
Yeah. That's part of the problem.
yeah.
That's the problem.
That's part of the problem.
That's problem. That's the big, because whoever files first has precedence over the situation.
We don't really think about these things because sometimes in life we're so engaged with life the way that it has been described for us. We don't take the time to rethink and bringing these subjects up from this perspective, a more forgiving perspective, in a I don't give a fuck if you don't like the way I think about it perspective, then we can go ahead and open the conversation up. No doubt we'll have critics and people saying we're trying to defend and we're trying to do this, but if you're not in this conversation, if you don't live it and you're not affected by it on a daily basis, I don't give a damn what you think about it. So as you starting to think about that, you made a comment earlier. What were you saying? Yeah.
Being in this moment, I never really thought about it until now, as far as did he leave, or as you were saying,
Did he leave or was he pushed?
did he leave or was he pushed? So to me, it's a conversation that I need to have with my mother because I honestly don't know.
Yeah.
It was never a question that I said, "Hey, Mom, did my dad leave? Or was he pushed out? What did he have going on? How did what was going on?" So I never really thought about that until this very moment.
Yeah.
So it's just it's something in the back of my mind that I do really want to speak on and to know more knowledge of. But that may help me moving forward.
Yeah. The value in that is that as you get older, you see those same generational curses creep up in your life.
Yeah.
Now you may jump on the ones that hurt you, because you know those, right? You go to hurt spaces quicker and faster. You look at emergencies fast. So yeah, of course you're gonna not you may not cheat, or you may not leave the house and leave your kids. But your finances fucked up. Yeah. Your decision making at work fucked up. Yeah. You can't keep a man or woman. You can't. So those generational curses end up showing up somewhere else. So in those places that you can attack it, you can go say, "Mom, you got information for me." I get it. I understand times made y'all have conversations these ways, and you had to deal with these things in these ways, and you as a woman was up against these things.
Right.
But now I'm building my family. I'm telling my kids or teaching my kids how to have a family. I need to be a lot more honest about things. I just want to know what happened. Tell me, from an unemotional perspective, what happened. So when it shows up in my house, or shows up in my family, I can fucking recognize it and do something about it.
But another thing too, most fathers that are good fathers, they're good fathers because they was fatherless. So they want to make sure I'm not doing to my kids what was done to me. So that's with or without the information. But then you got another segment say, the motherfucker left me, so I'm finna leave mine. And it has a lot to do with the social economics of a person as well. So a lot of that play in the fact too, cat having babies, but then he can't provide for those babies. So he feel like I don't need to be around those babies because I can't do nothing for him if I was there anyway. So he steps out of the way. But a lot of times it's like, what motivated me to be a dad was the fact that, I met mine at 16. And I'm like, who is this stranger that walks up to me at my grandmother's funeral saying, "I'm your dad"? I'm like, the only dad I knew was a grandfather, right? But now this nigga want a relationship with me. It's like, nigga, I don't know you.
Right.
Basically, and at this point in life, I don't want to get to know you.
Why?
You know what I'm saying? The whole point of it is, from the information I had, you walk out on me at 3, but now at 16, you want to come back. But see, that's the only information I had.
It's
So
just
based
the
on the
ignorance.
information that I had,
One-sided.
you left. The thing about it is, it may sound odd what I'm gonna say. It's like I don't feel like I really need to forgive him because I never had an alt against him because I never knew the nigga.
Yeah.
So what am I forgiving?
Right.
You made a choice, and I respect your choice.
Yeah.
Now, I respect the fact that he felt like he needed to leave for whatever reason. Never found out the reason. I respect that. But I have no relationship with you strong enough for me to have to forgive you or something because I'm really not mad at you.
Is it more so you can't miss what you didn't have?
That's it. That's it.
Or you can't miss what you expected because you don't really know what you were supposed to have unless you can point right now and tell me what you were supposed to have and be for sure. Because if you tell me what you were supposed to have because he wasn't in the house with you at that time, then I can go back to Vietnam and tell you, hey, there was conditions where people weren't in the house for 10, 15 years and those kids thrive. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then I can also say, well, you're saying he's supposed to have been in the house every day, so his life would have been better. Then I can also go show you an example where the person stayed in the house, and because the woman was so goddamn crazy, or their circumstances between them caused so much chaos, this nigga end up on drugs and beat the shit out of the family the whole time he was there.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
I can also show you circumstances where they just stayed in the house and was miserable. You don't have to say a fucking word to your kid to pass misery.
That's it.
They just walk in and feel it every day.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. You go to California, half of the kids out there on drugs. Mm-hmm. I mean, they walking around like zombies.
Yeah.
Everybody in the United States damn near got a vice.
Yeah.
Name me somebody you know don't have a vice. It's either sleep. I mean, maybe they don't drink. Maybe they don't smoke weed. Maybe they don't gamble. Maybe they don't do all those things. Mm-hmm. But when you go beneath the covers, what you find? Everybody got vices today.
Everybody. But to that point, too, a lot of people, and I'm speaking from the black perspective, they stay in this marriages for convenience because they can't see themselves making it without that other income. So they position themselves with their lifestyle that it's going to take both of them. So I'd rather live in misery not knowing I'm doing more damage to the children than if we was to separate. But now because financially I can't leave a relationship, I choose to stay in this relationship.
Or on top of that, the saying back in the day goes, it's cheaper to keep them. So where did that come from?
Cheaper to keep them?
Cheaper to keep them.
Or to his point, old school mentality is save for a rainy day.
True.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't nobody tell you it was gonna thunderstorm every fucking day.
Yeah.
But hell, it is cheaper to keep them. Is it not?
Well, listening to a podcast Steve Harvey was on, he went from 30 million to 1,700 because divorce. So it could have been 30 million to 1,700. It was cheaper for him to keep up. But then what is he doing but then for himself, what is he really getting in staying? Because now that's where infidelity come in. Because I'm staying in a fucked up situation, not happy at home, so I'm gonna find happiness.
So I'm out here looking for peace.
Exactly.
So check out this Instagram reel from Rick Ross. This is showing how much he's paying for child support. His current baby mother is also pregnant. Have y'all seen that clip? All right.
I seen that clip.
All right.
And then also another clip I saw where Puffy, P. Diddy is paying like $1 million a year in child support, but yet, as he say, it's fucking Friday for him for every day. He living the best of his life and he doing whatever he want to do. For him, it's beneficial. I just pay the child support and just live an amazing lifestyle.
And then on top of that, you got Flo Rida who's paying $500,000 a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if you want to go into the sports realm of it, you got guys in the NBA paying $250 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Boy, that's some good stuff, ain't
it? Ain't that good?
$250,000. And then those baby rattlers, how much the motherfuckers like? I'm not gonna knock it. But once you have a kid and you leave the relationship and you leave the household and y'all decide that y'all not gonna be together, you're pretty much committed to some level of a polygamy-like relationship. And that's the bottom line. Because when another person comes into this relationship, they get a vote on how you execute your business on a daily basis. They're going to tell you how, whether you should meet somebody halfway, whether you should go over to the house, whether you should do this twice when you've only supposed to do it once. And that relationship requires more compromise than even a marriage. That's why it's so important to understand not the fucking love language. Fuck love language. it's important to understand the angry language. Like what happens when we have a disagreement or you have to compromise a little bit more? What happens when we start talking about religion and now my new mate has a different religion and worships this way, but you knew when we were together, we created a child gonna raise them under these standards and these circumstances, and now there's a new person, stepdaddy lives matter too, that's got to be considered.
That's a T-shirt, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most definitely.
So that is the conversation is so much more serious than how much money you're gonna get. That's some bullshit, and it breaks down the family fabric. That subject always get heavy because it's hard to hear. Was he pushed? Because nobody wants to give a man excuses for leaving the house or leaving the home because it's personal to us.
Yeah.
You know, when you start saying, "Oh, he had every reason not to be there," or he had good reason to live somewhere else, because of our expectations of our fathers and parents and our need for them to be superheroes and stay together no matter what, even though we also can't do it. And then being around your kids after that, well, that's a whole nother subject, and there's some things that we got to go through to talk about those things. But as we close this subject out, and you think about it today as a man, what are some of those reasons you would think that a father wouldn't want to return to the home? Like, did he leave or was he pushed?
Sometimes the fathers leave the home because the initial getting together with the mother was wrong. So I got with you, we didn't have sex, maybe it was a one night stand, but their morals kick in. I want to do the right thing. So come on, let's get married, let's live together. But when you get in that situation, you realize I'm not for this person and this person not for me. We got a kid, that's cool, but I'm not for this person, they're not for me. And sometimes the best decision is to leave. And as I first said, you can always leave the home, but you never leaving your kid. You still got a responsibility there. So sometimes coming to that realization, I'm not for this person and this person's not for me. So the only thing I'm gonna do is make my life worse and theirs worse by staying. So it's best that I just leave.
Also, I think one of the issues potentially could have been it was the slave mentality, because before our time, or at least my time, the mentality was for fathers just to work, just to pay the bills. And then, like you said, this dad over here could have had a family, and he could have had his one night stand with this woman, but he going back to his family. Now, this woman over here, she's a single mother now because of this dad. He decided to come over here, maybe due to what he was dealing with at home, so he went to go find his peace.
But you know what? I'm gonna say this because my uncle, and I'm not gonna say which uncle name. My aunties is looking; they all gonna be pins and needles. Which nigga was it? You know? My uncles always said, "You take care of home, you can do whatever you want to do in the street." And these cats still married today. And you know, one of my uncles got a whole family across town, well, out of town. But it was that mentality going by what you said: take care of the house, and then you go do what you want to do. And then the women mentality was, this dude got a roof over our head, food on the table, clothes on our back. So I know he out in the street, so I'm not even caring about it.
I've been thinking about this, and you brought up an interesting point from slavery, right? What are the characteristics of a good father in the household? Can we name those?
Consistency,
like, so what are you saying?
consistency,
Just being a consistent person?
consistency, and being present.
They show up to work all the time, or you just saying he's gonna be consistent in your life,
right?
because characteristics are characteristics, and they apply no matter if it's you applying them as a father, you applying them at work. If a nigga's inconsistent, he's inconsistent.
Just inconsistent.
And that might be one of his faults, and one of the things that he can carry. Because when you think about slavery, okay, so you said consistency. Let's answer that question. Consistency. What else?
A provider.
He's a provider.
Yeah.
So work.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there limitations or just enough to put food on your plate? Big house. Car, what is providing
to operate within the means of your income. So your income can't be a big house and a fancy car, but it might be a small house and a reasonable car. You know
okay, all right. So we could go down a rabbit hole on the financial, on the provider side. But what else? What else is the good characteristics?
Emotional support.
Emotional support.
And I say that because today's kids, they need that. You know what I mean? But
When did you learn that though? Like, because that is a great answer for sure, and we need that. But when did you learn that?
I learned that, to be honest with you, with my own child. You know what I'm saying? Dealing with the kids nowadays, those are some things that we was taught growing up to not even cry as young boys. Don't cry. But watching my son or my daughter cry, you need to have that type of mindset for your child to be able to help them cope as far as like moving forward past whatever type of emotional issues that they may have.
Okay, because we've been confused about affection from a man for a long time. We just didn't have the North Star. So in terms of how to receive affection from a man, that didn't exist because we didn't even cross that bridge because everything
At all.
Anything you did that showed any emotion deserved a punch in the chest, boy.
Absolutely.
Man up.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
So a hug from a man was like, boy,
Watch out.
Yeah, what are you doing, man?
Or even a simple "I love you."
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. We didn't use that a lot in my house. Yeah. We're gonna move this conversation now into the pain of some of the things that fathers dealt with. Not excuses. We want to really just identify the pain so that we have a safe place to talk about some of those things that we experienced, learn from them, and grow. I personally think it takes several generations really to make a whole father, especially a black father. I think the first generation of fathers had to deal with the pain of slavery, the pain of the breakdown of the family, also the pain of trying to continue that industrial machine that we had called slavery. I think there's a lot of pain that we can go and talk about first from that first generation of men. And then I think the next wave, which I'm not singling it down to a particular generation, but for me, the next wave of men, like I think I was a little bit better than my father. Like I understood my responsibility in the family role just a little bit better than he did. And I think I did a little bit better. And I think my kids now came into the world with different solutions, looking at the world totally different. And I think they will do a much better job than I did with family structure. So let's go back to like that pain as you start to think about, because I know today you with your twin making ass got some beautiful twins, and your wife came from twins, right? Is she a twin?
Yeah, she's a twin as well.
Yeah. Y'all got some. I know y'all pumping out them twins over there. And so as you think about fatherhood, and you think about like some of the challenges now. Today you had to make some decisions after busting that nut, and it's some commitment. There's a lot of things we know now as grown men. There was a time we was running wild and having a great time, serving and learning as a man. But now we can reflect. Now that we've been through a few things, we've caused a little bit of pain. Now we can look back. How do you think about that when you look from your father's perspective and the things you know today?
When it comes to my father's perspective, it's still kind of blurry, because it's like growing up, how I grew up with me and my twin brother. It's like I tell people anytime, anybody that know me and my brother, they know like we like this. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like we're more like a parent to each other. You know what I'm saying? Like even just how we grew up and growing up in that environment that we grew up in, it was more of you had to lean on each other.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was always the village. You have people in the community that look out, but it was always like, I don't think it's no mistake that I'm where I am today, because even as a little kid, people always gravitated towards me and my brother, and it was always one of those things that was like, I got most of my friends are in jail or dead, but here I am today still. Father William wasn't around, in and out. I never used that as an excuse. Never, not one bit of time to do that as an excuse. Never looked at it as an excuse. So, but at the same time, it's like, it's one of those things where like, I think somebody touched on it earlier. I don't dive into it because it was like, I never envied people that had their dad. You know how some people like, they want that relationship with their parent, with a dad or with their mom. I never wanted it. I always want to figure out, show me how to do it. And I can do it on my own. Even as a little kid. Like, show me something. And that's why the Navy was great for me, because once you join, they teach you stuff and you run with it.
Yeah.
From that point. But like as a kid, growing up in that environment, you don't get that. The resources.
Yeah.
Or people really showing you like what to do. So it's like, yeah, having a dad is great. They're just gonna give you an advantage. But I know a lot of people that have dads and they still don't take advantage of having a dad.
Yeah.
So it's like, it still goes back to the person.
Yeah.
So even when I was getting in trouble as a young adolescent, I was wise enough to know that, shit, 16, I'm going to jail with the big grown ass men. All right? I got to start fucking up. Right? Because I know my parents ain't got no money to bail me out of jail. They can come sign me out of juvie. So it was a setup. I'm thinking like, I'm 14, 15 years old, already with a mindset that know how the system is already like baiting you in. So it's like when you have a lot of kids who have their mom and dad telling them the same thing that you figure out on your own when you hit your head.
So take me back, right? Take me back as an uneducated viewer of your life, right? And as best as you can break it down, like, when was the first time you saw your dad and you said you can remember in your mind today as a man, that's my dad?
My story is crazy because
what age?
I've been with like 4 or 5, about 4.
You remember looking, this is my dad. How did you know that?
No,
like,
I remember my dad been in jail. And called home from jail. And I remember telling him like, Dad, I want you to come home. And he was in jail. And that was one of the stories that when he did get out of jail, he like changed his life around for a moment, you know. He did the right thing.
Well, okay, break that down. What did you expect? Like at that point.
I never. That's why
I know you say you don't expect nothing.
I don't, because it's like, because I always say, it seemed like I was just always like, show me how to get it and I get on my own.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, show me how to do something. So it's like, to me, it's like, yes, it's great. I see the advantage that people have when they have dads, right? But at the same time, it's like how some people will be caught up on not having that. But once you get to a certain age, it's no longer you can use that anymore.
So you didn't assign no value to your dad back then?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Because I feel like it would make me weak.
Did you assign value to your mom?
No, I did not. My mom she was in the streets as well.
Yeah.
So I was with my grandmother. So it's like at the same time, I never allowed that to. I didn't even realize it until I got older. To be like, damn, I was in a fucked up situation.
So you learn independence at
an early age.
And so having that independence, you really never looked for.
I never did. I never realized how fucked up my situation was until I got like older. Be like, damn.
But you had your twin.
Yes. And that's another thing. Like having my brother, like
Yeah.
I always had that. Somebody said that's why, like, even like going to the military, like some people would try to divide us, but they never realized like the dynamics of our relationship. You know what I'm saying? Because like I can remember being in boot camp, people calling home talking to their mom, people talking to their dad, or you got people, dad and mom calling. I never have that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I never live with like, let me call my mom and tell her this, or let me call my dad and tell him this, or my mom calling me, son, how you doing? Son, how you doing? Or my dad called me. It's like I don't.
How does that show up today in your relationship, like with your kids and being?
It don't.
It don't at all.
It don't. It don't, because it's like because it's more like, to me, I see it as more than an advantage, because like people who look for that, it kind of sets you back in a way.
Look for what?
that connection.
I just don't see any of us having that deep of level of thought around why things wasn't working. I saw us look at our mom and our dad relationship, and if they couldn't hold a relationship together, that was the reason why he was in the house, and that was it. And then if I could find a reason why they didn't get married, I mean, they didn't stay together, then that's the reason why my daddy wasn't there. And the source for that reason was my mom. You know, that was the person that translated the reason why my dad was not there. I never went over and then said, okay, pause. Their relationship has nothing to do with me. This is my father. I have an obligation to have a relationship, understanding, and a pass down with this man. I need to go over there and make this a purposeful commitment to a relationship, to have an independent relationship with this man. All right, peeps. We're just starting to open the diary. Tune in next week for part 2. The guests will be sharing some of their personal diary entries on some ways to rethink the approach. As you reflect on your own diary, let's grow together. Join the conversation. Drop us a note in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe. We want to hear from you. Join the conversation. Chat with you next week.